Hello and welcome to the next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, we've talked a lot about LinkedIn off and on this podcast, but probably not for some time. So it's probably high time we revisited the subject.
Yeah, I mean, so many people get LinkedIn wrong. And when they do, they look out somebody who's got real talent. And we've got somebody with real talent when it comes to LinkedIn. It's Jill Chitty. Welcome to the next 100 Days podcast.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hope you're both well.
Well,
no, you're not well.
I know. We actually do release this on YouTube so that everybody can tell.
Graham's sniffling all over the place.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not. We can't communicate it this way, can we? We can't broadcast it in that way. Right. So, Jill, you're based down in Gloucestershire. So, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So I never ever thought that I was going to be working on LinkedIn. In fact, I used to have a real hate for social media. I started life as an actress. Trod the boards, did musicals and Shakespeare and toured doing a variety of different plays. And that was really my starting ground. But when I had children, I didn't want to be gallivanting all over the place because I had children to look after them and bring them up myself. And so I started business. It seemed the natural thing to do. I started a business that was totally different from this one. But as that business progressed and we reached that 2008 kind of breakdown of the economy, I would get people coming saying, what are you doing in your business? Because we were continually advertising for new people. I had a team of 17. It was an award-winning business. And I just sort of naturally and organically started coaching people. And that just developed. And then I realized that LinkedIn was a hotbed of potential. And I went into my office one day in my pajamas and thought, I'm just going to work this beast and learn how to do it. And within 2 weeks, I'd won 2 contracts worth 21K.
Were you still in your pajamas, though? I mean, presumably you changed out at one stage.
Yeah. At some point, I'd changed. But it really highlighted that there was money to be made, impact to be made, and there was something in the platform in terms of growing my business. Now, what happened was all of my clients then started to say, oh, we love what you're doing on LinkedIn. How are you getting those results? How are you overbooking yourself? And so that's how I became a LinkedIn expert. And
my research told me that you fell foul of LinkedIn's rules at one stage.
Do you know,
and they said, off you go. You got a red card, didn't you?
I love that story because I really didn't have a clue. I think I'd only just gone on to Facebook. I'd gone on to LinkedIn again, not knowing anything about how to behave on social media as a business. Yeah. And I thought it was okay to message people every day that I thought should be buying from me. I know better now. And so enough people clicked that. There used to be a "this is spam" button back in the day. And if you remember that, the lethal little button, I don't know how that would work if we had that today. And so enough people messaged LinkedIn to say this is spam, that LinkedIn sent me a message and said, off you go. I thankfully am unrelenting, and so I message LinkedIn until I got the answer.
Every day you message them.
Yeah, no, I apologise profusely, and I said, lesson learned. Now I realise I've got to learn how to use it properly. It was a defining moment for me. It actually was a really good thing to have happened.
Oh, it's nice that I mean, Kevin, you've been banned from LinkedIn, haven't you?
Oh, never knowingly been banned from LinkedIn.
I've been banned 4 times now.
4 times?
Yeah, so push the boundaries. We tried out the whole automation, which I don't like now at all. Yeah. Now it's all cloud-based, so LinkedIn, it's harder for LinkedIn to spot whether you're using automation. But one of my strengths is about building relationships quickly on the platform.
No, you haven't been banned, Kevin. But at the end of the day, you have built quite a big following, haven't you?
Yeah, and banned's the wrong word, but there are points where my account has been limited. So I've say tried to contact too many people or things like that. But it's more around LinkedIn changing the rules of what they allow you to do than anything else.
Yeah, I've not really got that problem.
One thing that I have learned over the years about LinkedIn is that they change the rules frequently. They change the algorithms frequently. So what worked yesterday doesn't necessarily work tomorrow. And that's something you've really got to bear in mind.
Yeah, and I think the algorithms take on a life of their own, actually, when a platform gets to this size. So very few people really know what's going on in the algorithms, but they don't warn you. They don't, send a message into your inbox saying, hey, we've made some changes. I found some new changes yesterday and did a video about it. It's good. It's a good positive change. It isn't always, but that's what you have to navigate, these platforms that actually offer you so much in terms of business growth and introductions to new people across the globe. So it's a small price to pay, and you won't find me moaning about LinkedIn, because I would say, on the whole, I think it's an amazing platform.
I'm sure. I think it's done a lot of good things for our business, and it's continuing to do so. It's just knowing how to do it is the thing.
Well, let's get to that, because I think that when first of all, one of the questions however successful you are at bringing people towards you and into your cabal, as it were, there's an upper limit, because I have a friend called Mike Durham, and name check Mike Durham, and basically Mike said he was hurtling towards 30,000 connections, followers. I'm not quite sure which one, but basically he said that he's going to have to dump people once he gets to 30,000. Is that how you understand it as well, Jill?
Yeah, there is a 30,000 connection limit, but since they've brought in the creator mode, which you have to turn on your follow button, it ceases to be an issue. So people will tend to follow you rather than connect with you. But it's your job as the owner of that profile and that presence to then reach out to those ideal clients and bring them into your network.
Right. So if you were actually on the 30,000 connection limit, then you'd have some followers, but potentially you could swap them out with people who got, who were
you can swap out the connection. The way that I look at it was, when I was younger, guys, I loved Starsky and Hutch. And I had a picture of Hutch on my wall, and he followed me around my bedroom. He saw all the naughty things that I was doing as a little girl. Now, I knew everything about Starsky and Hutch because I got their magazine every month. I had a lot of posters on my wall, but Starsky and Hutch didn't know me. That's what it's like when somebody's following you. They can see your content and your engagement, and they can get to know all about you. You have no idea who they are unless you're connected with them. And that's why you want to check that following button regularly, on a monthly basis, and just see if there are ideal clients in there, because it's really important to be building relationships with those people.
Right. This has passed me by, Jill. I mean, I've seen this following thing. I haven't quite understood it, but you can actually isolate those followers and actually have a look through them as if they were connections, and then say, actually, I quite like that person. They'll be good for me. Click.
Yeah, there's a page on your activity where it's got your number in your network. That's a clickable link. You can click through there, and there's 2 tabs, following and followers, and you can easily invite people from that page. Super easy.
Do you follow a lot of people as well, just because it's a good idea to do that?
Yeah, it's all about networking. So it's a big online networking. It's an introductory platform. So you're introducing yourself by your presence, by your activity, by your content to people that you would never get to know otherwise. So, the aim is meet as many people as you can, build the relationships, add value, so that they go onto your marketing journey with you.
Kevin runs a business which is helps run a business which is all about CFOs or chief financial officers, or aspirant chief financial officers. Presumably, Kevin, those are the types of beings that you would like to communicate and get into your following.
Absolutely, and we're using Sales Navigator as an extension to LinkedIn to find as many of our ideal people as possible. And our tactic up to now has been to try to connect with as many of those people as possible. And actually, on the subject of 30,000 followers, Dan Wells, who we're working with, has already got to 30,000. And there is that painful process of having to remove connections in order to add new ones. So there's constant look in Dan's side to say, well, who's right? Who's still active? Yeah? Who are the people that are least likely to be the ones that we're going to interact with going forward, and sifting them out? That's not an easy process, and it's a fairly tiresome process.
It's tiresome and boring, actually, Kevin. It's a really boring job, which is why every month we do a little reassess of who we've got in our, that hasn't recently joined, who we've got in our network that has totally gone dormant, which you would do with an email list, wouldn't you? You'd review that. So we do it on a monthly basis, and just remove those people that we know now. We might have connected with them 5 or 6 years ago. We know now they wouldn't be ideal clients. We look and they've not responded back to a message. They might not be on LinkedIn as much, and so those are the ones that are easier to remove. So
Did you just press a button, no longer like an unfriend, and not quite unfriend, is it? But it's unfollow.
Yeah, no, it's just remove. They have no idea that you're removing them, so it's not a big public hoo-ha. So
all of a sudden, when they look, they turn up and they say, "Oh no, Jill Chitty's getting on. Oh, she's a 2nd-degree connection. I thought I was a 1st." Yeah, they get really hacked off at that point, I presume. I don't know. It's a small thing to be hacked off about, isn't it?
And the answer to that one is, if you're still really interested, press the follow button.
Absolutely. Yeah, they can still follow everything that you do.
So it's not a bad thing then. So in other words, tidy house. It's a Jordan Peterson LinkedIn strategy.
If you like,
a clean room, and tidy your room. Yeah, okay, I get that. All right. So assuming then that I wanted to try and attract a number of people who, in my case, were investors for a particular reason, something I'm doing later on in this year. Assuming that's the case, how would I go about finding and befriending them?
There's several different ways. So one way is to put a few keywords into the search term, and you can use a Boolean search. So you might say investor, and they might be investing in a certain industry. So you put that industry in. In Boolean terms, that and or needs to be capitalized, and you will get a list of people come up that you can then use that information to refine that search, make it a long form search. So that's one way. The other way is you can click on the search bar and you'll get a new menu up, and at the end of that to the right you've got all filters, and you can actually connect with people you're already connected to. You can see the connections of people you're already connected to. So you kind of click 2nd degree because you want people that you're not connected with, and there's a space for you to put the name of a connection, and so it will bring up. So if you did that for me, for example, it will bring up all my connections that you're not yet connected to. Mm-hmm. The really good thing about this, a couple of really good things, is you can find people who are very similar to your ideal clients who you're looking for, because we tend to hang out with very similar people. Mm-hmm. Plus, when you connect with them, they will see that you've got a mutual connection already. Yeah. So it's not a super cold reaching out to people. You've already got some level of connection with that mutual connection.
Yeah, I see. So and that's all in the LinkedIn, that you don't need Sales Navigator for that?
No, that's for everybody to use. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And so all right, so that's a really good a strategy. Is there a sort of a rule or are there rules not to follow, or are there rules to follow, that basically the number of times that you would communicate on LinkedIn, for instance? I mean, a lot of people are kind of, aren't they, they're watchers and they kind of look at everybody else, but they don't actually say anything themselves. But, I mean, I generally, because of this podcast, I probably just do one post a week about the podcast. Rarely do a podcast about, an article about what I do, which is, I suppose is a mistake, but nonetheless, I think the way which I'm building up my network and awareness is through others. So we'll eventually get round to doing a release about you, Jill, and that'll be wonderful. We'll pick a decent clip where you're saying something really bright. So
I'll do my best.
Get on with it then. No, seriously. And then what we would do, we put that little clip onto LinkedIn, and hopefully a lot of people will listen to the podcast and get in touch with you.
Yeah, brilliant. So the mistake, in answer to your question, Graham, that a lot of people make is they connect and they do nothing. And so people forget who you are, and you both disappear into the ether, never to be seen again, until one person goes, oh, I could do with some new clients. I've got pressure on from the manager above. I need to make a sale. And so then you pitch up and you literally pitch, and people go, oh, I hate this LinkedIn. I don't want to be connected to him. And so that connection doesn't serve you and you don't serve them. So what we teach is all about getting into routines, habits, and systems. So when you connect with somebody, maybe we connect, Graham, on a Monday. Right. On a Tuesday, we'd send you a welcome note. There's nothing salesy in it. I love doing voice notes. You can only do those on the mobile. They're great. You get a sense of somebody's personality. So few people do that. But also you can have a framework of a message created that you just copy and paste and personalize. And it positions you. You're putting your ideal client, your new connection at the center of what you're doing. And we could often do a PS, a little bit about us. We do a live every week. We'd love for you to join us. We don't send any links. We're just informing, positioning ourselves. And then once a week, we look at who's connected with us, and we'll tag some of those people who are ideal clients in a post specifically made for new connections. So there's multiple touches. We're speaking to people in the inbox. We're speaking to them on the feed. And that creates a higher score in terms of the algorithms. If people are having conversations in the inbox, LinkedIn tends to think that it's a genuine relationship. So it will show your posts and your content on the home feed. If somebody sees your content once, they go and look to see who's tagged them, they'll see more content. And so you're creating a bit of a rhythm on the week. Another thing that we do is we have an offer post once a week. So we tend to talk about a theme for a whole week because not everybody's going to see your content.
Right.
People are busy and they forget. And we put some content up that's the same every sort of 6 to 8 weeks. And we get the same people responding to it. And just because, we're thoroughly distracted, aren't we? And so we'll put up an offer post, say we're doing a theme about LinkedIn profile. We'll have a LinkedIn profile cheat sheet. And we'll say to people, and these are all things that we're just repurposing from using with clients. And we'll say, hey, we've got this available if it's going to be useful. Pop worksheet or cheat sheet into the comments. And that's how we take people from being on LinkedIn off onto our email list, which is where you're going to do most of the selling. And when they opt in for that, we send them to a thank you page that gives them an opportunity to book a call with us. So there's this cycle. Most people think if we can just learn how to use LinkedIn, it's going to be bloody marvelous. But actually, you've got to have the business structure around LinkedIn or any other platform that it works together. So that's typically what we do. It's all about building relationships, having value, so that we're leaving those breadcrumbs and leading them onto a trail.
And you're taking them out of LinkedIn so that you're able to, they become your clients rather than on that platform, because just in case, it could happen that they could ban.
LinkedIn's gone down in the past. It could.
Or they could just take a dislike to you.
Yeah, Kevin and I know we've both been on the naughty step.
Yeah, I
LinkedIn.
mean, I helped LinkedIn put Kevin on the naughty step, of course. It's
Of
just
course you
Sure
did.
you do.
part of my job, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But Kevin, go on. You said that you were
LinkedIn
quite an
makes
expert 5 years ago. How has it changed, do you think?
Well, I think it's changed in a lot of ways. But one question I want to ask Jill right now: LinkedIn doesn't like you taking people away from its own platform.
Mm,
Yeah.
Now you want to get people into your system. You want them to sign up to your stuff. You want them in your email list. But the one thing, am I right in saying the one thing you should not be doing is putting external links in posts?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the way that LinkedIn is going to make money is by keeping more people on the platform for a longer amount of time. So those posts or videos or carousel ads or any piece of content that enables people to stay on the platform will get rewarded. I'm taking people off the platform not by putting an external link. All I'm asking them to do is, if this sounds something that will be useful or resonates, just pop cheat sheet into the comments, and then my team will get in touch with them and send them the link to have a look at the opt-in.
So just remind us, this cheat sheet that they pop into their comments, where do they get that from?
So I might have written a post about the benefits or the mistakes that people write about when they're writing their LinkedIn profile, which are many. There are some totally rubbish profiles out there.
Yeah.
And so for a week, I'll be talking about profiles from a different angle. On one of those days, when we're tagging people, I tend to say, hey guys, I've got this for my clients. I'd love to make it available to you. If it's useful, just pop worksheet, cheat sheet into the comments and we'll make sure you get access to it. It's not salesy, it's adding value and impact, and it's also growing our business.
I mean, I'm just looking at my profile now on LinkedIn, and it's got my picture that my daughter-in-law took, and then it's got my name, and then I've got a bunch of, I would say, keywords. I used to have almost like a sentence description of how I might be able to help, and I was thinking that's a bit kind of samey. Everybody else is doing that. I don't really want to do that. I would rather just put down keywords that might actually have people find me. Don't know what's the right thing to do. Do you?
Yeah. Do you know, recently that's one of the changes that LinkedIn made last year. You used to be able to put keywords in your about section. It would pick up keywords in your skills section. Now it's just that headline, those 160 characters under your name.
Yeah.
So and that follows you around. So when you're doing content, people can see, or when you're messaging people, people can see what you do.
Yeah.
So you have to think, to total strangers, what are they going to need to hear about me on that headline that is going to make them think, check that guy out, and they're going to have a look on your profile. Your profile is where you build the trust and credibility, and you lead them to take an action with you, which is off LinkedIn.
Right. Okay. So basically then LinkedIn are not searching through all of that kind of CV stuff that they've encouraged us to put through. Not that most of it's relevant, but it's still there on my profile because I did it and I haven't been bothered to take it off.
Graham put his profile together 25 years ago when he was still...
Well, I didn't. No, I know I didn't. It was like, he said, which jobs did you work at? And well, okay, I'll put all my jobs down. And at the end of the day, I no longer work for anybody else apart from the chap that I see every day in the mirror. So basically, this right now, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, actually, that could do with changing because some of those things I could improve on to get more people coming to me.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what, Graham? I think leave that experience because it gives you weight. And people who are really interested in working with you, a lot of them will look through and comb through your profile.
Yeah.
And what we tend to say is, if you want to write anything about that experience, write it from the perspective of how that experience, that role has enabled you to be really good at what you're doing now.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. And you know, that if we can cut this bit out here, that we might put that on as the thing about Jill. No, if you had to be known, if you said, well, there's a whole lot of LinkedIn advisors out there, some of them we've had on this show, and very good they are. And I'm, you know, I'm not here to belittle anybody, but what is it that makes you different from other people?
I love that question because that's clear to me. We create systems with my clients that make it easy for them to use LinkedIn in a really effective way. So we're not just saying to them, go and connect with people. We are looking at what they're doing and their strengths and saying, this is a great system for you to run on a daily basis. This one's a great one to run on a weekly basis. These are the things that you can be doing with your strengths as a content writer or using and creating videos. So we talk in terms of, not in terms of come and know everything that you need to know about LinkedIn, but we talk about what are your skills? How can we systemize that? Because what we want for all of our clients at the end of the day is for them to be able to get new clients systematically. Yeah. So they're working a process that they work again and again and again. And when they start doing it, it might feel a little clumpy. It might feel, oh, yeah, there's part of this is good. As they keep working it, it's that whole 10,000 hours thing, isn't it? As they keep working it, they find the little nuances and sweet spots and honeypots in them for themselves. Yeah. And that's where the systematic, consistent clients come from.
Interesting. Kevin, what are you learning here?
I'm learning quite a lot, Graham, and it's about making sure you come across as an interesting individual, and certainly not selling, not being salesy. Yeah. It's being, you're using LinkedIn to get a conversation started. That's the key takeaway. Yeah. It's all about starting a conversation. But Jill, you're talking about having systems in place, but earlier you said that you're not so keen on automation tools. Now, I do use an automation tool to get me from Sales Navigator, where I've got a long list of people that I'd like to connect to getting that first connection in LinkedIn. Is that the wrong thing to do? Or is that all right?
I think if that's working for you, that's great. And keep doing it if it's working. My bugbear with automation is when it sends out a hi, Dr. Anne, where we don't, humanly speaking, we don't talk to people like that. Some people specifically put their name so they can spot automation. You know, if I get an email saying, hi, Jill Chitty, I know that's not from a real person. That's a tag. They've tagged my name incorrectly. And so my immediate response is to shut down any relationship with that person and delete them or unsubscribe. So
that first message then has to be very natural, has to sound as though it's you saying it. Yeah. And I know that I've put in the hi first name in some of those initial connections, and it does do that, particularly with the people that have about 3,000 different qualifications after the name in their LinkedIn profile. That seems to throw the system.
Yeah.
So I think you just say hi.
Yeah.
Love to connect.
Yeah. And in fact, we've got, in my business, got a very small agency. We just work with 4 or 5 large companies, and we consult with them, and we run their LinkedIn. So we'll be doing events and newsletters, all that sort of thing. And one of the best performing messages is, we tend to just connect. We do the 125 a week. We just connect. Then we put them into our ecosystem. And one of the messages that has performed head and shoulders above the rest is, great to be connected. How are you?
I'm looking at the one from Jill Chitty on 7:18 in the morning. So clearly you're an early riser. 9th of December, and you say, hey Graham, great to be connected, happy that our paths have crossed, how's it going? And of course grumpy old Graham says, stop saying hey to me, I'm not an American and I'm not 12-year-old. But actually a lot of people do use hey now, don't they? But I love the message, how's it going? It's genuine interest.
Yeah.
And that's you, isn't it? You are genuinely interested in people.
That's an interesting approach. I like that, Jill. Now, I do something similar. Because on that reply, I said, "Oh, great to be connected. Oh, by the way, or almost a PS. I mentioned when we connected the Grow CFO Show podcast. Have you listened to it? But that's asking a question about me. I love the way you're asking a question about them.
We do a PS. Have you got it there, Graham?
Yeah, sorry, it was cut off by the bottom bit. But for crying out loud, come on, Graham. And it says, P.S. Sorry, there's about another sentence here. P.S. I give away tons of free LinkedIn value every week on here. If you want to make LinkedIn a more powerful tool for generating new clients. Now, I don't think that's salesy. I just think that's says what you do.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm naturally attracted to a PS because I'm a direct mail guy, and so PS is like a thing that you should do. So PS, really clever stuff. But the way in which you've structured that is what you're saying is I give away a load of value, so tune in, and only contact me if you really want more.
Yeah.
If you want to generate more clients, which actually a lot of people say that, and it's a bit like, well, okay, fair enough. Of course I want more clients. Of course I want more money in my pocket. But it's the way in which I think you've said it as a whole that makes.
We actually message our network a lot because we do a live event every week on LinkedIn. Most weeks we've got giveaways and we do challenges. Wow. And all I will do is say, this might interest you. If not, really sorry, but we're doing a free live training and I thought it might be suitable. Let me know if that's of interest and I'll send you the details to join.
So if with a LinkedIn, because you mentioned that earlier, Jill, with a LinkedIn Live where you're doing one of these trainings, how do you actually do that? I mean, do you just press a live button?
Yeah. So you use a third-party tool, so something like Restream or StreamYard, and you set up an event, you link that third party to your LinkedIn Live event, and it kind of shows up actually on your profile.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And then it stays there in your activity.
So, but you can't just do it in LinkedIn. You can't just do live.
No, you have to use a third-party tool.
And these things, sorry, remind us again, it's StreamYard?
So, yeah, StreamYard or Restream, they're two of the probably most common ones that are used.
Are they expensive to use? Or
no, you're talking about £15-20 a month, I think.
Oh, right, okay. So basically, if you're using it every month, then it's very, it's very, very cost effective. So, and effectively, you're just talking to the camera and just sharing, the latest ideas about LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was doing one this morning. We go live every Thursday morning at 11.
Tell us what did you say then, Jill?
So we were talking about, so my theme this week has been productivity, because you've got to have time and space to think, to rest and recover, to be productive on a platform like LinkedIn, especially when it's a small business or you're a solopreneur. You are on a very fine balancing act, aren't you? So the whole theme was how to unlock productivity on LinkedIn, and it stays up there. So we will get more views post it going live than we will have on live. So we're constantly, for the whole week, we're answering questions on there.
And Kevin, have you used that Restream service, or is this another penny dropping for you?
No, that's something that's certainly worth considering. I mean, back in the days that I last really looked at LinkedIn seriously around what you could do on it, none of the live stuff was really there. That's something that really has developed lately.
Yeah, that and the audio events. So LinkedIn have their own version of Clubhouse. And they're usually quite well attended. I've attended some. I haven't done any yet, so I'm going to try that out.
Sorry, Kevin.
Somebody suggested to me last week that I should perhaps have a LinkedIn newsletter. Now, that was something that was completely new to me. I didn't know you could have a LinkedIn newsletter.
I love what LinkedIn has done with the newsletters. It's their version of reviving the old published articles, which kind of died a death because our human behavior and things that were coming into the market changed the way that we consumed content. So they've revived it. And one of the brilliant things is you get to choose the cadence of how often you publish one. And if you miss one, nobody knows, you know, it's good. But when you first publish a newsletter, LinkedIn automatically lets all of your connections know, Jill Chitty's just published a newsletter. Would you like to subscribe to it? So we got a couple of thousand within the first few hours of subscribing, and then you just build it up each time that you publish and promote it. And every time you publish, all of those thousands that have subscribed get a notification saying, hey, Jill's published her newsletter again. So it's a beautiful thing. And you can get so much. You can put any links for anywhere. You can get videos up there, snippets, quotes. It's a really nice positioning piece.
See, that just having that thought last week lit a little light bulb for me. That says, hang on, Kevin, you've got an email list of your own, but well apart from any that you've got with the Grow CFO business. You've got that list, you're paying for the list to be maintained, but you're not actually sending any email out down it. Is that something you ought to restart doing? Now I'm thinking,
yeah,
a minute, the amount of spam that goes into people's email boxes these days, is that worthwhile? And suddenly the light bulb came on and said, well, rather than do it that way, what about sending the newsletter out on LinkedIn?
You see, I think you should do both, because with my clients, we talk about this value stack where it's like a triangle. So you have three areas or pieces of content that you bat people to. So for you guys, you might have the podcast. Kevin, you'd have your CFO business. You might have the newsletter. You might use content on LinkedIn. You could use YouTube channels. So there's no end of stuff. But what would happen is when somebody read your newsletter, you'd say, this week's podcast is, and you put the information. So then people are likely to click on that and they start getting more and more value from you. That is creating such a strong alliance with you that when they're ready to buy, and usually there's a high percentage of people that are in the market to buy, and we miss it because we don't nurture them. And likewise, when you're on the podcast, you can say, hey guys, don't forget, go onto LinkedIn and subscribe to our newsletter. And so you bat them from one key place to another, and you keep them within your marketing journey. You have, in essence, a little bit more control over that. So you should be emailing people. I had this with a client this week or last week who's got 12,000 people on her list, and she didn't ever email people. So that list should be part of that value stack where you're using and properly utilizing all of the elements that you've got going for you in your business.
So I'm just looking at one of your newsletters now, which is, I've got to say, this whole newsletter thing is new to me. And you've got a sort of like an image, like it says how to map out your sales on LinkedIn. It's an image of you, and then then the headline, then another headline, and then it's your LinkedIn bio sort of thing, and then you're getting straight into the conversation, into the comments sort of thing, into the words with images, and you've also got a video a bit further down on that, so you can put virtually anything in there.
Yeah. And what we tend to do now is the theme that we have for the week, we repurpose our content, we repurpose the live, so that's the video, and then we send it to our list saying, did you miss out on seeing it? This is why you need your emails, Kevin. Did you miss out on seeing it? We send that to our LinkedIn network as well. And so it's another chance for it to go round and people to get eyes on it.
I've noticed that when we do a post that publicizes the next 100 days, one of the things we used to get is get a lot more views of the video than sometimes we do now. What we get now is so that's literal views of the video. Now we get people impressions of the post in which the video is embedded, and I'm thinking, have I been conned here by LinkedIn? In other words, they've literally substituted impressions for views of the video.
It's a more realistic
Yeah.
word to use, because views implies that somebody has actually viewed your video or read your piece of content. Actually, what it is, it's shown up on their homepage feed, and potentially they've just scrolled by.
Yeah.
They haven't taken it in. So it is an impression. It's been available for them to see it, but actually we don't know whether they have or not.
Got you. I mean,
so that's just an indication of how much LinkedIn is pushing out your content. So it pushes out to like the 10%, a small percent of your content. If it gets engagement, it will push out a little bit more of your content.
When it comes to circulation of the podcast episode, when it gets to it, it will. The number of people seeing it won't be every single person who's connected to me. It'll only be a percentage of them.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, so a small percentage. And actually what we're discovering now, so we did beginning of this year, we did some research looking at who'd engaged in our posts, and you can see the analytics of, the broad analytics of who's looked at your post.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily getting names. But they are mostly people that I don't know. So I have people that I know that regularly, in fact, a couple of people always comment on my posts, and I call them my ambassadors because they push my posts out. But the majority of people that we're discovering are looking at our posts now are unknown. So we have to write for those people.
If you had to advise Kevin and I and our listeners, sort of 3 things that most people get wrong that you could fix for them, what would they be?
Profile would be the first one, because all of your activity is designed to send people to your profile. And this is where you're going to be building that trust. You're going to be giving social proof of how you're able to understand where they are in their world, and how you can take clients from that zero moment where they've got needs and pains and desires that they need addressing to the outcome that they want. And then lead them to book a call with you or jump on and look at a program. So it's a really, really important piece. And you've got a brilliant featured section that you can do so much with. So that's the first one. Second one would be a growth strategy. So how do you grow your network so we've talked about this a lot, so that you're building relationships as you go along, you're keeping people sticky to you.
Right.
And then lastly, it would be a content strategy, which I call a conversation starter strategy. So you're looking at, what are people going to be interested in? How do I structure that post? How do we create a plan? Do we just do ad hoc stuff every day? Whatever comes into our minds, or can we be a lot more strategic about it and use that information and the themes that we've got to work for our good? And then it's creating some habits within you and some abilities to write really good content.
What would a self-respecting bloke who's been on LinkedIn have in terms of the number of connections? Does it matter, or should you be thinking, well, you should have around 5,000? I mean, Kevin's probably got a lot more, but I've got, I don't know, between 2,000 and 3,000. I've no idea what exactly, but basically, what should I be thinking about? Should I have double that?
I think that's a really hard question to answer, what you should be having. The question that I would like to ask you is, are you getting leads from that number at the moment? What most people do is they sit back when they get to like the 500, or that's the milestone we want to get to, because then people are more likely to connect with you because they think, well, you've got a decent network. But what you have to be doing is continually filling the pool up with fresh people, because as you share the offering that you have in your business, there are going to be people that say yes, no, or not now. So then you've got less of a number to share afresh with the value and the impact that you bring. So you need to be continually topping it up.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a kid's paddling pool. As they play with it, the water goes out. So you have to top it up.
Got you.
And I think I'd add to that answer, Graham. It depends on the nature of your business. No, you're looking to deal one-to-one with a lot of folk in the finely fettled business that you're running. You're looking for a client to run a campaign for. In Grow CFO, we're looking to bring in initially free members to a membership platform and then upgrade them to paid members. So the numbers game is very different. I'd love to see 100, 200 new members of our platform, which is a global platform. So there's every case for reaching out for us to absolutely as many new people as we can find, and that LinkedIn will allow us to reach out to every week in order to keep that much bigger funnel flowing.
Yeah, the slight change in the way in which I agree with the first part of that. I am looking for people who want to have a conversation, like this supplements conversation I had earlier today, and really interesting opportunity. It's a one-to-one opportunity. What I'm moving my business more towards one-to-many on the basis of the virtual summit, and so therefore that's kind of the reasoning behind my question. Yeah. Probably need your services, I think, Jill. But I've heard on the grapevine.
Do a done for you one. We can come and do that for you.
Well, a done for me. Well, that's fantastic, because I've heard on the grapevine that you're very expensive. I mean, you're from Gloucestershire.
We're very
expensive part of the world. They've got a lot of rugby balls to buy.
We've got the Royals living in our county.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Oh, but they're the nice Royals, aren't they?
And you've got to keep Jill in boy racer sports cars that she talks about on the website as well.
Yeah, I've been very good recently. I haven't had any bookings for a couple of years now.
No.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter's picking up a car tomorrow down south, and it's probably the biggest car that you could get for her frame. So when she drives back, it'll be like people will be looking, what's that child driving that? Because it anyway. But if you want to get divorced and you're high net worth, you're seriously high net worth, then I know somebody who can help you. But that's another story. But no, seriously. Is it an extraordinarily expensive thing to get somebody on board like yourself, or is it something that?
No, we do a setup. So for the first month, we're setting up, making sure your profile's reading well, optimized. We do all that back end work of your profile. We create content plans, network growth strategies. So we do all of that stuff. So there's an upfront cost.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at between 300 and 500 for us to come in and do the basics that we can do every single day. We do it 5 days a week, and you go in and you just do that little bit of relationship building.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So Jill,
we do have a full done for you one, and yes, that is expensive. Well, we go in and we do everything.
Yeah, but that 300 to 500, Jill. How if I was doing that myself, how many hours would I spend doing it?
So we go in and we do probably 4 to 5 hours a week.
Now, price your own time if you're listening to this. And if you're a business owner, I normally use a rule of thumb when I'm talking to a business owner and say your time is worth at least £100 an hour. So if you're going to spend 5 hours plus doing that sort of thing, I'll not say badly, but
not as well,
Well,
averagely.
I think
why would you spend £500 on somebody doing it properly for you?
The biggest rub, though, Kevin, is that we do it every single day. So we don't have a day where my team will go, actually, Jill, we don't feel like doing this. They do it every single day. So, that consistency is incredibly powerful.
Are your team all female? Or are
they... my team are all male, actually.
Are they? Oh, well.
Yeah, I work with, for some reason, I work with predominantly male people most of the time.
Whether would that impact the way in which they do profiles and so forth, or posts, or whatever else they do?
No, I don't think so. No, okay. I hadn't thought about it like that.
No, okay. Well, just a thought, and it probably means nothing. But I don't know whether or not if your audience are female and it's a male writing to them in a male voice, etc.
Yeah, I tend to do the content strategy.
Right.
So for that package, we give you the guidelines of the content so that you cover all your bases. You're talking about your business on a regular basis, and you have to write it. The next one up is where we do absolutely everything for you.
I got you. Right. Well, Jill, I've got to say, we've sort of been talking for the better part of an hour.
Whizzed by.
And it's whizzed, but I mean, it's a bit like you're at a Shakespearean play. Just it's all over before it starts. It's
Love a good Shakespeare play.
And Jill Chitty, you've been an absolutely brilliant guest on the Next 100 Days podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Graham, that was a really fascinating look at LinkedIn. And certainly we've talked about some new things that we've never looked at before. And we've never considered the world of, say, LinkedIn newsletters.
No.
And LinkedIn Live is something that's come along and we've never woken up to.
No.
And certainly just after we finished recording with Jill, we were both talking about feeling a real need possibly to do something with our own personal profiles on LinkedIn rather than other businesses and podcasts that we're probably promoting.
Yeah, and it's I've got to say, I've been advised to do this before with a previous guest, Ashley Leeds, if you remember, and he basically he suggested the same thing. But I you know, my view of LinkedIn has always been linked to the podcast. Most of the people that I see on my feed have been ex-podcast guests. I think I have to put more effort into the part of me that is my business, the one that pays the wages. So I think, I'm going to be looking at how I do that. And it may be that Jill can help me with that to improve, shall we say, the flow of leads that come through from LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I think we've said it before about websites. You might have a business website, but if you've got a personal website as well, that's great. Businesses come and go, but you and your brand are a constant that keeps going forward for a long time. And I'd say at the moment, which brand does my profile on LinkedIn reflect most? And the answer to that is probably not Kevin Appleby as the individual.
Yeah, but it's how important that is to you. At the moment, you do get referred value through the podcast that you issue, but in addition to that, you're working with a growth company. But there is that part of you, the part that I met initially all those years ago, that doesn't seem to be as prevalent now, and it's the same with me. I mean, we're not actively, shall we say, publicizing ourselves, and perhaps we should be, because we have a lot more to offer in other areas. The
one that occurred to me, Graham, at last weekend, I attended Michael Heppel's launch of his new book, Write That Book,
right.
And obviously you sit through an hour and a half of Michael on stage telling you how to write a book, so you're bound to come out of that session with, I'm actually going to write that book. But whether I do or not remains to be seen. But it then occurred to me, one of Michael's messages, well, if you're going to do that, you've got to build your tribe around that book, and actually you need to start doing that before you even write the first page of the book.
Okay.
Now, I then thought, well, hang on, my LinkedIn profile, what does it promote? It promotes this podcast. It promotes my other podcast. It promotes Grow CFO. Does it actually fit anywhere around promoting Kevin Appleby?
But if you were to write that book, Kevin, though, wouldn't you be talking about, if you wrote that book, wouldn't that book be about those things?
Well, it probably would, Graham. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably
So it's not
some angles around there.
Yeah. But you would bring your own particular uniqueness to the book, obviously, but you would be perhaps growing your ability to consult people about business, which there's endless ways in which you can actually benefit other people's businesses, and all I have to do is listen to the questions that you ask and the insights that you give on this podcast. So I don't think there's any, I don't think you should beat yourself up too much about what's there now. But I do like the idea of actually setting things in motion to actually achieve a goal a little bit further down the track, say in a few months' time. That makes some sense. And so, your day with Michael Heppel, etc., well spent, just as it has been this hour with Jill Chitty, who's been a brilliant guest on this week's episode of The Next 100 Days. So today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.